Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. I have an AI related video here today for you. Before we go into this awesome topic, don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel and make sure you smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Welcome to everyone in general anyway. Approaching the 10,000 subscriber mark, which is absolutely fantastic. Great to see you all here. Let's go straight into this topic. So this is one that I've been very interested in for a long time. Certainly an industry that I've worked in. And I wanted to talk a bit more in depth about why AI is such an interesting topic, particularly with blockchain, but also the incorporation of some of the projects that we invest in and how this is all going to kind of swing together really over the next few years and certainly the next coming decades, that's for sure. There's a lot of talk around AI at the moment, a lot of chasing going around the last month or so from new investors or investors in general, just really trying to have a frenzy of what AI tokens they can get their hands on, similar to when the metaverse topic came quite big in 2021. And of course, the NFTs took fly as well. I just wanted to bring it down to earth a bit more and realize the structure of the years to come. I'm not going to go into price point details of each of these tokens that we mentioned shortly, because we always do individual videos of them, or we'll start to do if we haven't covered them before. But it's more about the principle of where we are. What is AI actually going to achieve utilizing blockchain and crypto and vice versa? And the integration as well, things like smart grid, IoT, Internet of Things, as an incorporation of that as well. We'll talk a bit more about drones and things like that too. So let's go straight into this one. First and foremost, I'm just going to bring iota up as a bit of an example here. So these guys use something called DAG, which is direct acyclic graph. This is essentially an evolution of what we see blockchain as its traditional formats over the last 15 odd years. And this is similar to things like as well in the background or the back end working method of the likes of Hedera. You got Constellation, which is ironically called the DAG token as well. Very clever marketing from them. Certainly something for the future as time goes by. But to bring this in fruition, the conversation around DAG, that's why I brought iota up here, is the concept of bringing everything that we know together in one system. But not doesn't just mean one blockchain in particular, but one unified algorithmic system. So for AI to really work, for automation or autonomous aspects or data or anything like this, we need a system to basically be fully interoperable and talk to one another in a simultaneous fashion within milliseconds and not have a giant cost associated or a fee associated to it. So if you can imagine, a lot of the things that we do right now are very manually focused. In the sense right now, yes, there is a bit of automation in the background, but not fully. So if you go and buy something on Amazon, of course, there's a lot of manual things going on in the background about picking, about organizing your delivery, and also the data that's included within that to tell you whether something's in stock or how long it's going to take. All of these things, which do have an element of automation in there, or certainly systems, whether it be CRM, customer relationship management, or MRP systems, where you're very much talking about the logistics and stock taking, all these things, right? You can use the principle of all of this in, for example, where you have to have an ambulance called out, the cost association of calling someone about that, using someone's time to then organize that, the cost of the vehicle coming out to you and vice versa, whether it be helicopters, vehicles themselves, whether they're electric or not is irrelevant at this stage. Same for supply chain, agriculture, you name it. Across the board, this is a huge topic, guys. But the principle that I'm trying to get ahead before we go into some of the other projects that I'm invested in, but certainly have an interest in as well, as I was learning through the industry of artificial intelligence and certainly deep learning, machine to machine learning, this is very interesting to see the development as we basically start shifting human usage towards machine and automation. More and more jobs will definitely be disappearing over the next 10, 20 and beyond years. There is the argument about basic universal income coming in to help with that, the relearning, the reskilling of people into certain industries. But of course, the big conversation around AI at the moment, with the utilization of creatives or creating articles, whatever it might be, it's just the stepping stone. It's just the beginning. When actually the reality of blockchain, because of its ability for verification and processing at a phenomenal speed and a magnitude of transactions per second. And I'll reiterate, if you haven't seen any of the previous videos that I've done around AI or any of the individual projects that we cover, a transaction isn't always about finance, guys. It's not always about a currency format. You always think of a transaction, you go to a shop, you buy something, that's a transaction. But actually, anything that we do that requires, whether it's a purchase or an action to make something happen, is actually a transfer of an action. Okay, so when we take our step back a bit about trying to open our minds up to the fact that it's not just about finance here, which is a massive incorporation, by the way, of AI, and we'll talk about that in a second. But once we get that method in our minds, that anything that we could do which would be automated in the future or done by machine or just done based on data and algorithm automatically will be a transaction. So we need something, we need a system that can hold all of that information, that data, make something happen based on something happening over here in the A section, all the way to the Z, and all those things that would happen in between, the intermediaries, the costs associated. How do we diminish them? How do we potentially remove them entirely so that actually A to Z happens instantly? And this is where blockchain comes in, because we've got the verification, we've got the processing ability, with the ability of KYC, so verification of people, verification of businesses, proof of information, for example, like your driving abilities, your healthcare, everything on this database system. You could argue that blockchain is a massive technological advancement of a traditional database that you could have information on, right? But of course, the ability for computing or quantum computing, taking advantage of that and basically deciphering and allowing things to happen faster and verify and process faster as well, diminishing cost, allowing us to remove things like cross-border payment fees, exchange rates, potentially remove inflation, anti-money laundering aspects, all of these things, right? So in these topics where I've got like here, for example, drone deliveries, where you think, well, yeah, this is coming for sure. Like you order something on Amazon, a drone is delivered. But then there's the algorithmic data of like, okay, if it's on a smart grid, how does it know where to fly? Obstacles and things like this, a network of drones flying on highways, not crashing into each other, timings, all of those things. It could even be, guys, to the point where, and this is where it gets a bit more of a mind blow, is that if you're sat here and then you had a meeting organized across the other side of the world, everything like your transportation, your taxi picking you up from your home, which will be automatic and autonomous vehicle in the near future, by the way, not a driver anymore, coming to your house on a smart grid format, knowing where your house is, location, data. The artificial intelligence kicks in to know that, oh, you need to be at the airport by this time. We'll come and pick you up automatically. We know what kind of vehicle you want, the comfort you want. We know what accommodation you want when you get to your destination eventually because of your buyer behavior, or certainly purchasing behavior with hotels or anything like that in the past, i.e. your digital footprint. It can also do the booking for your flight by itself and make sure that you're on time and everything like that, and any changes that require will automatically be done, so you're not having to phone people up and say I'm going to be late or do this, do that. It's all going to be done for you. It's pretty much actually going to be done before you even think about it, right? So we think about these drone deliveries. Well, actually, it could be as well that you've forgotten something. So a drone's going to deliver something to you as you get to the airport, for example, or along your journey and have that dropped off to you. All of these kind of things. We could be talking about drones planting things. Well, not just about planting trees, which will be a lot speedier than what we do currently, but also the ability to harvest, the ability to seed automatically based on data algorithm, based on how many things you're taking out your fridge when you're going to the shop or you need something. None of that anymore. You have deliveries by drone to your house of all your shopping, it will know when you've finished eating things, when you've taken them out of the fridge or anything like this, or the algorithmic data. For example, like Subscribe and Save on Amazon. If you haven't used it before, it's fantastic. But you manually put in like, oh, I want this delivered every 2 months, 3 months, depending on your eating habits or the data that you've accumulated in your head. But imagine that automated and you don't even have to think about it. It just knows for you your behaviors. Or the RFID chip inside you has said, Simon, your nutrition levels are low, or you need to have more iron. Delivery from a drone of the pharmaceutical products in the same day for you to enhance that algorithm, that aspect in your body to improve your health, to improve your immune or whatever it might be. So all these things incorporate. The same with food. Harvesting and seeding is very much done on an algorithm that it kind of needs to be done every year. We know we have to seed crops and harvest them at certain times a year. They might get damaged or whatever it might be. But then there's things like weather. There's things like supply and demand differentiations over time for whatever reason. It could be that a field has not yielded as much as it could, so it needs to get it from somewhere else. All of these things will be on the system. So it then knows in advance, like, how many do we need to seed today? How many do we need to harvest today? We need to speed this up. But it already knows. There's no human interaction anymore. It's absolutely phenomenal, really, to think about that. Even spraying, albeit hopefully not pesticides, but we know that still goes on, of course. But spraying to make the crops yield faster or in a better format, better quality, all of these kind of things. And this is just drones, guys. It could be even medical infrastructure, like your GPS in the RFID chip that you have knows you're in difficulty, so drones come to give you a medipack and all these things without someone actually having to fly it manually. And this is just drones, guys. We're talking about transportation, the smart grid in general, where we talk about things like the energy grid, smart meters, which is a big topic about 5-6 years ago. But the smart grid in general, well, actually the ability for cars to move around wirelessly, autonomously, and wireless charging, is a really powerful thing to operate, because eventually we won't be driving these ourselves. If you think of like the film I, Robot, where the car drives itself, yes, you could still have a manual override potentially if needed, but the general principle is that there would be no traffic anymore. There'd be an algorithmic data that, we need to drive at this speed because of the advancements of traffic ahead or whatever it might be. It would just be fluent. It would be flowing. And maybe even the highway grid changes that we have, the hover cars in the future, whatever it might be, all just working simultaneously. So you can start building in your head the algorithmic data of some of the physicalities that we do, transportation, ordering things, buying things, how things work. You think of the logistical pattern around the world, how trade works in general, how supply and demand works in general. It's quite phenomenal to see that blockchain has an infrastructure already in place and working towards this AI demand. It's all about artificial intelligence, guys. Machine to machine learning is very important. This is part of AI. Deep learning, knowing that when will someone become so agitated during the day because of a phone call that they've had that the cameras already dictate or analyze that you might be a problem later on in the day. Or these kind of things from a security perspective is to kick in as well. But for all of this to happen, you need systems where you can build these platforms, where you can build these infrastructures and learn from them, and vice versa. So that's why these projects become very lucrative, in the sense of being able to become protocols that you can build on, become the infrastructures in general that governments and countries will utilize in general as well, all coming together. So for me, with what I know for many years, even the IoT systems, guys, Internet of Things, we're talking about like Wi-Fi kettles or smart plugs or lighting, everything working on one system. And if something doesn't work, it bypasses automatically to make the end point work, is quite phenomenal. And that's where DAG comes in, because it's not a linear thing. It's something where you're going across in a straight line, getting to A to Z. This can literally manipulate itself across the board. If you think of a 4D web, like not just a spider web which is flat and you look at it from one angle, but if you look at another angle you can't see it. But if you're looking at 4D, this web has transformed itself into various different directions and opportunities, and each endpoint is all a massive connection, something that could be done without you even knowing it's happened and doing it before you've even thought about it. That's the crazy thing about AI, right? Taking an input that we're putting in right now, this is where we are as a phase, right? This is human to machine, human to AI. Eventually, and we're not far off this, guys, machine will teach machine, machine to machine learning, M to M, and then you'll just have the no need whatsoever for human input. Then the question remains, like Elon Musk always talks about, hybrid humans and robotics, etc., taking over the world. Well, there's an argument to say who controls this, who regulates it, who can turn this system off if it goes wrong, and when robotics come in and things like that. Well, it's all on the same principle and the same system. Blockchain will power all of this. So there's some really interesting pros and cons to all of that. But back to the point is the topic of the projects that I'm invested in. I've got a few here to mention, and I have them for various reasons. I've had most of them since 2020. Some I've sold, and I'll be open with that, which ones are and are not sold, and why I hold them. So my first one here is iotx. This is a really interesting project. It's one I've held for a few years now. And I very much loved it because of the machine-fi aspect of it, where we talked about machine to machine learning. This is great integration of an operating system where people can learn and develop things to create this kind of economy. But for me, I was particularly interested in iotx for its IoT integration of the AI sphere, of the smart grid application. So these guys brought out things like the Pebble, which was a tracking device, kind of like a tracking device, but also allowed the information of data, like the environment that you're in, how long you were there for, and trying to get the sense of like, okay, like with smartphones, for example, there's a lot of data from that wherever you are, right? But that all on one system, as data algorithm kicks in, the more data you have, the more you can achieve from an AI system, that you can either predict the future or stop something from happening even in that day because of all the things that are happening within this data, data income or data input from these kind of little products that they were bringing out. So there was loads of really cool things that they were doing. But for me, the usage of these tokens, and this isn't just iotx, all these kind of projects, they utilize a token either from a payment format for people who are using the system, or they're used to help allow people to develop on the system. So sometimes you need these tokens to actually be able to do stuff, to burn those tokens. And so rather than using like excess energy and stuff like that, you can use the tokens and burn those instead. So there's a really interesting tokenomics to all of these as well. We've done introduction videos to pretty much all of these. I do recommend to go and check those out. I won't go into the massive detail about tokenomics right now, but you can start to understand like, okay, a lot of these projects are used for development, or they're used for building upon, or they're simply building the platform themselves to be integrated into our existing infrastructures, whether that be humanity level or machine level. For example, like iota, which is very heavily involved right now with the European Commission and the integration across a massive network of many, many countries. So iotx is definitely one that I always have an interest in, as I said, because of that IoT infrastructure and abilities that they have. Internet of Things, by the way, for those that don't know, is very much anything that is connected to the internet that has a purpose, whether it's like a Wi-Fi kettle, your smart plugs, your smart lighting, smart security cameras, whatever those might be, all being incorporated in one system. And going back to that point of like, if your electricity is not working, or there's something wrong with one of the cameras, it can fix itself behind in the back end, going from point A to point Z in various different patterns. See what I mean now? It's starting to piece together like how this works. We had the smart grid a few years back and the IoT systems, but now being incorporated into AI and blockchain, this is how it all starts developing and taking shape. Fetch AI. This is one of the interesting ones, actually, because there are elements of artificial intelligence towards this in terms of like how you can build on the Fetch system to create AI systems. I wouldn't necessarily class this as like an AI project. And in fact, I wouldn't even with iotx, other than its machine learning protocols and the ability, again, for people to build on them. I think it's very important that people really understand this. But for me, the big thing about Fetch AI is the machine-to-machine learning, similar to the iotx aspect of it. So once we start getting more inclusion with humans input to machine algorithms and data, this will start taking over by itself. Machine to machine learning. It learns itself what does and doesn't work. It doesn't need us to tell the legalities or what you should know or not know. It will just do it by itself as time goes by. So this is one of the big key things for me behind Fetch AI. I guess the AI element comes in from the machine to machine to an extent, but I just want to be clear that these projects tend to not be purely kind of like directly AI focused. They may have AI in their name, but you need to deep dive a bit more to understand, like, okay, what is actually AI and what's the incorporations of AI? How does this work? It's not just robots, guys. This is a massive algorithm, huge data inputting and outputting as well. So this is one of the other really massive projects for me. Again, something I've held since around probably the beginning of 2020. I would actually say I think I first bought it in March 2020 when we had the significant drop across the markets, which seems like it was yesterday, but it's not. It's a few years ago now. It's absolutely mental how time has flown by. But the ecosystem is constantly evolving. And again, with the Fetch token, you need the Fetch token to be able to build on there, but also get rewarded with Fetch tokens as you're building also. So it's a great one for developers. It's kind of a bit like bpro. Used to be called Bet Protocol, but bpro is another project that we held for a long time. I haven't really done a video on that for a while. I do need to do that, but people was like, oh, what's the tokenomics? What's the point in this token? I can't even use it like for anything in particular other than like buying and selling on the exchange. Well, actually, if you look into detail and understand the process of like what the projects that are building on them will be using in the future, the bpro token, as is with Fetch and iotx, they're all being used within the ecosystems that are building on these platforms. Okay, so it's important to understand that as well. Next one, Singularity net. We may as well call it a net, it's NET, whatever. So obviously a big incorporation recently with Cardano. These guys are really great friends, Charles as well. And this is one actually I found through Cheeky Crypto, again, back in 2020. Utilizing those boring evenings that we had throughout that year in lockdown, but having some great entertainment information out from some great channels back then. They pushed Singularity Net and they gave great reasoning behind this. Again, the aspect of becoming end-to-end solutions, exactly what we just mentioned about the endpoints, but also the aspect of AI application, both being a developer, but also being able to utilize this on services on other networks as well. So again, the token being a big area of opportunity for developers to use that token to develop and create things on these infrastructures and vice versa as well. But this is always going to be a very interesting one, especially utilizing Cardano now. Obviously a fantastic platform in itself. The integration of things like smart contracts on an AI algorithm would be phenomenally interesting to see the development over the next few years. Smart contracts could be absolutely anything, guys. It could be a contract for a job. It could be a contract for a business-to-business agreement. It could be a smart contract related to a house, whatever it might be. The integration of things like your data or KYC, DIDs, digital identities, all input throughout this system. So there's no actual kind of like formulation of checking anymore. It's just done simultaneously, autonomously, automatically, literally within milliseconds. Absolutely crazy to think of it in this way. So this is a really interesting one for me. It's something I've held for a long time, and I really interested to see the development as well of things like voice AI and also bio AI. As I mentioned earlier about like potential RFID chips or artificial intelligence integrated within our DNA, integrated within our bodies and things like that. It's going to be very interesting, guys. And consciousness AI, very interesting. This is something that Singularity are working on, as are a few other projects. Bio AI, guys, this is absolutely interesting. We talked about this in a video quite recently about the operation of taking your consciousness and putting it into a digital format. Why you would want to do that is questionable. What you would need to do that for remains to be fully seen, but I can certainly see some interesting advantages, like it could keep you alive essentially for forever. that kind of like Futurama aspect where they got heads in glass bowls and stuff. Maybe you don't need the physicality of that. There used to be a TV program called Humans here in the UK. I'm sure there's similar ones across the world. But the I can't remember the lady's name from Matrix who played Trinity. She's a character in there, and she put her daughter, her voice and her consciousness into a database. I'm assuming would essentially be blockchain in this instance, but for her to be able to have conversations with that, and actually became the machine that was used for operating these androids, if you like, across the country and the world. But yeah, bio AI is very interesting. I don't think it would just be about consciousness. I think it would also be, as I said earlier, about healthcare, DNA infrastructures and things like that, image, video, speech. Fascinating stuff, guys. So this is definitely one to have on your radar, or certainly in the portfolio at some point, in my opinion, as with Fetch iotx as well. Ocean Protocol, I won't go into giant detail about this one, but this is certainly something, again, that is very heavily deployed around data. Again, I wouldn't say that this is a full direct AI platform, but it certainly does have AI modeling within it. And I'm very interested in Ocean Protocol because of its interaction with the World Economic Forum. It's certainly a technological partner of the WF, and anything related to the WF always gets me interested in an investment perspective. And you can see here a few of the companies that it's been working with already. MIT is obviously a big one, and some other partners and projects that it's related to as well. But yeah, for me, the great interest does indeed come with the data application with AI. AI data could be used for developers to understand like how we could improve the building frameworks and infrastructure of AI abilities, and vice versa as well. But again, opening up a protocol or an opportunity for people to either get funding or build on the system. This is the important thing to understand, guys. People are going to be utilizing these projects. It's great for us to hold them, by the way, on the exchanges and earn tokens as the tokens are getting burned or diminished because of their usage. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these tokens are used for developers to be able to use and develop on these platforms and protocols. So that is their main kind of initiative behind the tokenomics of all of these. And as we utilize the Web3 aspects, the evolution from Web 2 to Web 3, taking advantage of all the great algorithm data, the AI, what we've seen recently with Google, Microsoft getting heavily invested in AI projects as well. So very interesting stuff. Ocean Protocol is definitely one to look at. Ocean Protocol is not one I personally hold, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on. I have so many different projects. I have loads in AI incorporation already. I may add this at some point, but for me right now, it's not one that's on my radar. That doesn't mean that it's not right or that it's no good or anything like that. It's just I've got so many. I'm trying to reduce them, not add. But yeah, it's definitely one. One other quick one here: deep tech learning, the integration of VR and AR. Again, very big importance here. NFTs in general, not NFTs just because of artwork and things like that, but also, as we mentioned earlier, about physical NFTs in previous videos. This is the incorporation of housing, cars, property in general, assets in general being on the system, using AI data algorithm to determine price, valuations, the consistency of digital identity, confirmation processing, all of these things, all these wonderful words. But Cambria is one that is related heavily to AI. It's one that I held in 2020 and I sold in one of the uptake areas when it pretty much took off. So I think for me personally, I was holding in 2020. I'm just looking at the chart in the background when I'm talking. I think I sold it off back in 2021 when it hit quite a nice high point, and it's now infrastructured its way down. But it did have a massive spike up recently, as did anything that was related to AI. I guess one of the advantages of this kind of video is to suggest that there's been an uptake. I don't like to try and do videos as things are uptaking in that manner, because I think it's important for people to see that, yes, we're in a bit of a FOMO period. We need to let that calm down. And then I'll discuss like, okay, guys, before you invest in all this, did you actually research this? Did you actually think about the elements and the application of AI? What's to come? How much time we actually have in front of us, albeit that, it's always exciting to take advantage of trades and things. There's massive development to still be occurring in the AI space, and particularly with the integration of blockchain, even with the frameworks of regulation and legislation as well. So this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. It might be one that I dip in again to when that comes down to a very lower regions of the price points. But again, the tokenomics very heavily related around to the utilization through the innovators, the manufacturers, the developers to use the CAT token, KAT token, for that aspect of it as well. So this is how eventually the tokens will diminish and be utilized as well and become more scarce as time goes by. So we've got plenty of time. And finally, the last two quickly here, IOTA, we do loads of videos on. I'm not going to go into massive detail about this, but we mentioned earlier about the DAG protocol and system. I'm not going to go over that again, but do check these guys out. Phenomenal integrations, as I said, across the world right now, government and political level and just technological level of being integrated. It's one of my favorite ones. Check out the intro videos, check out the other IoT videos on there as well. But huge opportunities with machine to machine learning, AI, data, you name it, all integrated in one. It's probably one of my ultimate ones, in my opinion. And one of the last ones, Matrix AI, holding this for a long time. I'm staking it as well. I need to check the staking status actually on this one. I held this for a long time. This is the MAN token, MAN. Again, solutions very heavily related to NFTs, but my real focus when I first started into this was the IoT aspect and the machine to machine learning as well. But again, here, digital avatars, the integration of bio AI, absolutely fantastic, guys, to see how this will develop over time. Information, if you think about your brain, is a massive database of information, and algorithmic data, frequencies, all of these kind of things. And consciousness in general is such a fascinating topic. I always try and watch loads of YouTube videos about the pineal gland and consciousness, imagining that you can connect this to the internet some way at some point. And that's exactly what these kind of guys are doing, as well as some of the other projects, trying to, Elon Musk and everyone, learning how to intertwine AI, the internet, to our brains. Could we have chips one day that we insert, and it's like the Matrix, you can start learning how to fly things or learn languages within milliseconds and stuff like that? Or uploading our consciousness as we get older, because maybe we've got really interesting information that we need to keep on the database so that we in the future as humanity don't forget certain things. If you imagine like how much history we've lost over thousands of years, I mean, we're just digging up things all over the place at the moment in like Rome, and you see like Graham Hancock's fascinating documentary Ancient Apocalypse, where things have been missing for like 12,000 years. Imagine if we had an uploaded consciousness of data, just knowledge in general, but also our minds and our capacities to for the future to understand our mistakes or things that we were thinking about or haven't done or have done in that algorithm. It's going to be very interesting. There's some really downsides, in my opinion, like to society and stuff when it comes to AI, but in general, I think it's fascinating. It even mentions here about a Matrix, oddly enough, actually, the film. Very interesting indeed. Avatar intelligence. But yeah, as I said, for me, it was very interesting around the machine-to-machine learning aspect, the manta, if you like, within this system. Keep an eye on it, guys. I'm not suggesting that you have to definitely add this to portfolio. I added it purely for the mechanism of why I found it interesting. My knowledge and experience in these sectors in general in the working environment is what drew my attention to them. But that's just a handful of them. There's probably loads more. Let us know in the comments below if you have any other AI tokens in your portfolio, and let us know, did you get involved in the uptake of the AI market related tokens over the last month or so? I'm looking to see those come down at some point as the conversations diminish, but it's certainly, as I said, a long time to go, many years to come. There's lots of development, lots of things that need to be worked out yet, and even how we integrate this with humanity. as a conversational topic in general. But it is fascinating. Whether you look at the pros and the cons of it as a massive system, I just wanted to get the points across that there's big development, there's big projects out there that are allowing people to develop on there. Really interesting things technologically in terms of advancements, but it's important to understand what AI stands for in terms of artificial intelligence, but the branch out of that. How does the smart grid, IoT, the infrastructure of blockchain, DAG systems, how does it all incorporate? Why is it important to understand this for when you're investing and researching into these projects? So hopefully it's a bit of a mind opener to you all. There's a few that I've picked out that I've either purchased in the past or hold now or sold off in the past. As I said, they're all fantastic. There's many more as well. Do your own research, but if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I like to think that I know quite a lot about these sectors and opportunities within AI and IoT, etc. But yeah, leave your comments, leave your thoughts. It's a really interesting topic. We'll wrap that up there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll do a few other topics. If there's any other topics, like big topics you want us to talk about, let us know and we'll get those videos done. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.